I think what surprises me, Dustin and James are on set with me, Peter, but stay with me because I think what surprises me here is that we'd already had the president come out, or at least Secretary Gibbs, and say, well, you know, we're open to maybe some changes. Then this letter comes out, Dunstan.
Well, the politics, listen, they've got until New Year's Eve to politic and demagogue this thing, and obviously they have every intention of doing it. Liberal Democrats have talked about this so-called millionaires tax as a possible negotiating point for a while. Quite frankly, I've talked about it myself because on the coasts, you talk about this $250,000 figure, and we're not rich, those of us who approach the couples who make that $250,000. I know it's a harder argument in the center of this country, but on the coasts, from Richmond, Virginia to Portland, Maine, that $250,000 figure should be a negotiable figure.
I was going to say, I think where the line gets drawn, that 250 has been a lightning rod of debate. Many people come out, just as you said, that's not, let's call it a rich number. Yeah. So then where do you draw the line? And I heard the $1 million figure, but I will say that I really feel in this environment the desire to get all Americans, don't hit any cuts. And while I might disagree of how some of those tax benefits or tax cuts would be spent, and I may be on the other side, I will say I'm still feeling that it's going to be all.
Not surprised, Peter, that Senator Franklin's on this. He looked like somebody had just, you know, shot his dog when I saw him earlier this week on camera. Yeah, Peter?
Hey, Cheryl, just want to, I do want to add one thing. As you know, a provision like this, a proposal like this was voted on in the Senate on Saturday when the Senate considered just limiting the extension of the Bush tax cuts to the middle class, those making under $250,000. And then there was a proposal from Senator Schumer of New York to extend them only for those who make less than $1 million. So that proposal is similar to this one that we've just received from Senator Franken and others. That proposal was voted down by the Senate on Saturday. So so it is likely that this would be voted down again in the current compromise debate.
If I could, may be taking the lead, regardless, they may be taking the lead for the House as well, which.
If I can speculate, there perhaps be some fine-tuning on this, but my guess is that the general framework we got a week or so ago, that's going to be it. That will essentially be it.
All right. Well, Peter, we're monitoring the live and that dividend. We were talking about it earlier, James. Nicole, we had this conversation with James earlier about the dividend. It'd be nice to see other companies begin to increase their dividend in the next year. I mean, do you forecast that at all?
I will say I have some expectation that is going to be coming in part, as we talked about earlier. It is such I guess the recommendation of the stock, we'll call it experts and specialists who are talking about a shift out of maybe the bond market. We had a very good auction, 30-year auction yesterday, and then the idea of selling out and moving more money into stocks and then which stocks to pick. And again, the #1 recommendation are dividend paying or companies that may increase their dividends.
Maybe a few multinationals sprinkled in.
And there you go.
Just a few. I know how you think. All right, Nicole, thank you.
How much of your business has shifted from catalog purchases to the internet for you guys?
About 70% of our business today comes over the internet, and that shouldn't surprise anyone, I think, because that airline passenger is a highly connected person that probably prefers to be engaged with the internet. And then mobile is also a growing portion of our business as well.
Oh, interesting. Well, again, you mentioned GoGo in-flight. I'm certainly that's going to be a boost to the bottom line for the company. Christine, thank you for being with us for our On the Road segment this week. All right, Friday, Best Guess Style. Reminder, read all the best guesses and my latest commentary at CassoniExchange.com. Also, follow me on Twitter, at Cheryl Cassoni is the handle. A lot of good stuff going up this afternoon, actually. All right, best guess, and James, I want to start with you.
Sure, thank you. Reading up on the U.S. housing market, and it appears that 2010 will produce losses, I guess, approaching $1.7 trillion. That is on back of 2009, which was over $1 trillion. So you think about the government intervention and some of the programs, the home buyer tax credit provided some support, but when the incentive was removed, the home prices went and found or looked for their levels, and the levels were lower prices. So you take all that information, you know that many more homeowners are underwater on their mortgages, you have a jobless recovery, you have trouble getting new mortgages. So my best guess is don't confuse a bottom with a ledge. And looking into 2011, I think we have more room to fall in the housing market.
But so prices, you say, I mean, can you give me a percentage guess? I mean, another 10%, another 15% for prices?
I will say yes, but I will say I don't have an exact number of how low we go. I will say the combination of the lack of a securitization market, the difficulty of getting a mortgage, which one can say the credit standards should be increased, which they are, but the fact is it's not easy to borrow, in which case you have a very challenging market.
Securitization was picking up, though. I mean, I really did.
It is
a year ago
in some of the consumer areas, but I still think the housing market, and particularly the retail housing market, where securitizations for residential mortgages is still very strong.
Okay, must have been a commercial. Anyway, Dustin, what do you have?
Mike Bloomberg is going to run for president. He's not going to admit it.
Good.
And he's not going to win, but he's going to be right in the middle of this thing as we move forward. He did a very interesting speech on Wednesday, I believe, in which he excoriated both parties. And like I said, he'll never admit that he's running for president, but you couldn't argue with anything he was saying. He was saying both parties are demagoguing and politicking issues that need to be taken care of. In other words, they're fiddling down there while Rome burns. Does he have all the answers? I don't really know. He's a fairly bright guy, and he's got some answers, and he's going to be right in the middle of this thing as we move forward.
He would make history. He would be a very engaging candidate.
Yeah, he
certainly.
is.
It wouldn't be a boring race if he
would
jumped in. All right, I like that. Mine's on M&A activity. I was looking at the front of the Journal today talking about all the cash on the sidelines. I think you will see M&A activity in 2011. I think it's going to pick up. It's not going to be where it was, though, in 2007. I think that you're actually going to see some deal making again, but I think the real big, like, juicy deals were actually made this year, and we're going to start to see the positive effects of that next year. So, but anyway, thank you very much to both of you. Have a great weekend.
To be here.
All right, that is it for me.